Hey, Scott, what movie are we going to talk about today?
Synthel got I'd like to say it was a good one, but it's called The Circle, and it's directed by Peter Callow and written by Scott O'Neill and Peter Callow. And Synthel, I'm going to actually let you take first stab on this. So what about this movie? What did you like? What did you think about it? Give me your first impressions.
So the what I liked about this is it's clearly a low budget movie. It was difficult for me to find out exactly how low budget it is. What was interesting to me is that it had a lot of potential. It had some potential for some unique stories. It had a potential for building tension and mystery. What really fell apart for me, I think, is that I thought the writers and the directors didn't know how to end the movie. It started with a lot of potential, started with a lot of mystery, and they didn't do anything with all of the interesting elements of the movie. So what I liked, the creatures, the mystery behind the creatures, making you wonder where the creatures came from, who are they, the how they built tension. There are some standard horror elements in there in terms of running away from creatures and doing stupid things. That elements were there. The fact that there was a lot of mystery and unknown in it was interesting to me as well. The characters, some of them were really engaging and intriguing, but ultimately it fell apart because they didn't do anything with what was interesting.
Yeah, so I did not like this movie. And I while watching it, I felt like I was watching a bunch of first timers and inside of an escape room. It was the story, like you said, Synthel. I think the story itself, I love the idea that you just kind of stumble onto this archaeological site that has, writings from not just one, but multiple civilizations. And then as you go around this island, did you ever play the video game Myst?
Yes.
Okay, this felt very Myst to me, right? So, because as they went to different parts of the islands, there were different things, and then you have these weird creatures that show up that, by the way, the creatures worked well in shadow, and they should have damn well kept them in shadow because, again, either recognize that you're working with a low budget, so use the dark and shadows to your best elements, or embrace the idea that it's low budget and that the creatures are that bad, right? But either way, you have to commit to something. And in the situation I had with The Circle was I never felt like they committed to anything in this. And it just felt to me like it was a really great idea that just never went in.
And there were multiple great ideas. There was the odd creature that was hunting them.
Yeah.
There was the ghost-like figure that was never explained, and there was no reason for the presence. And then there were the markings on the archaeological sites, all of them working together to have no correlation with each other, and little too many ideas all thrown into the movie. Could have been a little bit simpler. And then what also didn't work for me is that the ending felt like it came from a different movie because it didn't fit anything that happened in the beginning.
No. But Synthel, I think you said it best. I think, and I find myself doing this in writing, right? You get an idea and then suddenly a new idea pops in your head and you go, oh, I'm just going to add this, but it doesn't fit to where this is at. So, you look at this, and again, this is why I keep coming back to it. Just felt like an escape room filled with first timers that are trying to get off of an island and solve, it was like a Scooby-Doo mystery. And so many good elements, but then they never pulled all those elements together, and they didn't where was the payoff at the end? Where's my payoff? It felt like a Blair Witch Project gone wrong.
Definitely. And at first this kind of gave me a little bit of the Yellow Brick Road kind of vibes.
Yeah.
It was not executed as well as Brick Road. So I was disappointed from that perspective. If I had to recommend it, I really wouldn't. It had a lot of interesting ideas that didn't work together, didn't fit together. The ending didn't make any sense, and there was no logical explanation.
Yeah.
Or supernatural for what was going on. So it looked like somebody filmed a series of interesting scenes and then put it in a movie.
Simple. I think that's the best way to say it. It was like a bunch. It was almost like what are all those the ABCs of death and VHS, right? Which are these little bitty little individual stories that come to a conclusion at the end that wrap everything together. except all of these individual stories didn't come to a conclusion and didn't wrap anything together at the end. This is one of those movies I watched and forgot. And and all respect to the director, all respect to the cast. Believe me, we understand. We're in the middle of trying to get our own thing going. This isn't easy. It really isn't. So, I hate being critical on things like this because I understand how tough it is. It's like writing. It's tough writing your first thing. It's tough doing a movie. But this one, great ideas.
It didn't work.
We never got to where we needed to go.
But I totally agree with you. It highlights how really difficult it is. The core of it all, which is writing a story that fits together, makes sense. And sometimes, as we're discovering, what makes sense the first 10 times still is not what ends up ultimately showing up as the final product.
Yeah, so Senthil, one of the things, just as we're writing, it's tough to get yourself into the audience's mind. That's where I'm having the hard part, right? So it's a really great idea on paper. And then you say, well, how's the audience going? And that's what it felt like to me. I think that Scott and Peter had this really great idea. Again, I think the idea was solid.
Yeah.
I think the execution of the idea, it just fell apart. And I don't know whether it was our perception, but from other reviews I've read, I think it was the perception of people who have seen this film, is that it just felt like it was a great idea that just it couldn't take that, it couldn't jump the hurdle and get to them.
So what's your recommendation? Would you recommend people watch this, or is this a pass for you?
This is a pass for me. And I hate saying things like that because people put their hearts into things like this. And but there's so much good content out there. If you had a few moments and you wanted to just see an idea that was a well thought out idea that just didn't come to fruition, then I watch The Circle to learn. I mean, I learn things from things like this, right? And so, if you're looking at to go into film or whatever it is, then this is a good one just to watch, to go, hey, this was a great idea, and the execution didn't work out.
Yeah, that's an excellent observation. And after that thought, I would have to amend my recommendation to you. For the casual horror viewer, probably not. If you're an aspiring filmmaker in the horror area, this is a great movie to watch to see what worked and what didn't.
Yeah.
And try to understand why certain elements didn't work and how that can we learn from that too, for what we're doing as aspiring filmmakers.
Agreed. Yep. Senthil, thank you very much. Another great discussion about another movie. I'm looking forward to our next one.
See you next time.